Bastards of Oblivion, Episode 7, The Clones of Baby Hitler, Part 6, The Day the Music Died. So I'm standing there outside the warehouse. I look at my watch. It is 12:34 in the morning. That's 34 minutes after midnight. That's when I got here. It's as if no time had passed. I looked at the door. I started to knock.
Don't even think about it.
I heard that in my head. I recall the conversation with the doorman, and I remember the note in my pants pocket. I rush home to retrieve the paper just in case it was actually written in glossolalia. I retrieved the article from my pants pocket. It is crumpled and apparently had gotten damp somehow because the ink was smeared. I sniffed the note. It was beer. I set the note on the counter to dry and cracked myself open another ice-cold beer. It is now 200 hours, and so I take a nap and start thinking about all the weird stuff that I can't talk about. It's not because it's top secret. That is taken care of by the mere absurdity of it all. No, it is because it's incredible. I also have no real proof to present. That is the way it is designed. The security levels are maintained by dream recall. High Command will never give you more than you can bear. This is to keep you from going insane. The spirit world and the physical world don't mix as well as you think. What is an hallucination? Why do some people hear voices? These people may have holes in their psychic firewall. Anyway, I doze off and wake up about 4:59 in the morning. I'm hungry and I decide to head down to the chow hall and get some of that green eggs and ham. Free food 24 hours a day. The alarm goes off. It's 0500 hours. Petty Officer Temple is sitting by himself. I hadn't seen him since boot camp. He is out of uniform and wearing OP shorts and a Hawaiian shirt with airplanes on it and flip-flops.
Hey, Trinity, have a seat, old chum. How's it hanging?
He smiled widely.
Are you still living the dream?
I responded cautiously.
Dreams are the stuff of which reality is made,
I said, trying to sound wise, and I raised one eyebrow and looked up at the ceiling. Someone had thrown a wadded-up wet paper towel up there, and it stuck. It was starting to turn brown. I laughed at this. I waited for him to laugh, but he was silent. He stared at me. It was very awkward. Finally, his eyes narrowed, and he said,
You.
My spidery sense began to ring bells.
Me?
I tried to relax.
What you just said about dreams being the substance from which reality is made. You're a fucking genius.
I didn't know what to say. Of course I'm a genius, but I also have this Dunning-Kruger thing going on, so I said,
No, I'm just lucky.
and left it at that. Then he ate the last bites of his waffle and stood up, grabbed the coat off the back of his chair and said,
Later, dude.
and he gave me the old surfing hang 10 sign. I look up at the clock on the chow hall wall. It is now 07:34 hours. I think of the note and I pull it out and look at it. It is illegible. It looks sort of like an ohm symbol. I order a tuna fish sandwich to go. Later I use the saran wrap which the sandwich was in to protect the paper, and I stuff it in a secret compartment inside my sea bag. I basically have time off as my return flight isn't until tomorrow. I wonder why I had to come here. I mean, if the honey bear is so freaking big, then why don't they just abduct me there? There's a newspaper sitting on top of a newspaper vending machine. Of course, I'm happy to have some literature, and I take it with me as I leave the mess hall. Later, back at the BOQ, I decide to look at the newspaper.
Hello, Space Cadet. You will need this for your next mission. On the equinox of 1947, a small vehicle crashed just north of Roswell, New Mexico. The material was gathered up and given to the Air Force, which stated the rumors regarding the flying disc became a reality yesterday when the Air Force was fortunate enough to gain possession of a disc through the cooperation of one of the local ranchers and the Sheriff's Office of Chavez County. But the Army showed up, and suddenly it was debris from a weather balloon. Someone said the debris was actually a mercury waste product created when a crossbow got out of skew on the treadle, and this caused a linear diffuser on the interdimensional flux capacitor to overheat due to thermal runaway on the thingamajig as the clock tried to materialize at two different points in the event horizon. Oddly enough, the first atomic bomb was detonated near Roswell, White Sands held captured German rockets and stuff. Les Paul and Leo Fender began tinkering with electric guitars about 20 years earlier, and by now the electric guitar was a respectable musical instrument. Music had not quite evolved into rock and roll yet. This is significant because on February 3rd, 1959, Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and J.P. the Big Bopper Richardsons are killed when their plane crashes just after takeoff. Holly and his band, the Crickets, had just scored a #1 hit with That'll Be the Day. Some DNA samples of Buddy Holly made their way to White Sands where they just sort of got lost. Some secret agents of the Dark Sun under the cloak of Operation Paperclip had acquired them, and they were then given to a disciple of Aleister Crowley for safekeeping. In early 1946, Parsons with L. Ron Hubbard allegedly performed a magical ritual derived from the work of Aleister Crowley at a place called Little Petroglyph Canyon, located at the Naval Air Station at China Lake in California. It is said that this was to attract a mate. However, unverified sources assert that this was actually a test point for a time travel experiment. Instead, the vehicle appeared in the American Southwest, where the numbers 1934 were carved into a rock by. The DNA collected from the murdered rock stars was being transferred to the Dark Sun via OTO members. With thelemic magic, Parsons and Hubbard had carved 1946 in the same area and did the sex magic, which is referred to as the Rite of Pan, and its real purpose was to bring the Black Sun here in 1946 instead of 1934, so they could give them the Holy Sacrament. When the Germans arrived in both 1946 and 1947 simultaneously, they carved E=mc² on a different rock and shared snobs. Jack carved his initials when he got drunk. Everyone told him not to do it, but he was altering history for the Dark Overlords, so he didn't give a fuck. Parsons and Hubbard withheld some of the DNA and started a new cult, using what he had learned to distribute a synthetic version amongst select members via dietary supplements. In this way, the spirit of rebellion, or anti-everything, entered into our pop culture. This was particularly engineered by an aeronaut who had aligned himself with the Dark Sun because he thought it was cool. Oddly enough, his last name was Anger. This is significant because almost all of the latest music is performed by puppets of the Dark Sun to influence our behavior. Masquerade parties are being held to influence pop culture and help conceal the identities of aliens and other agents.
I look over at the note on the table and notice I had used it for a beer coaster. I removed the can and picked up the paper. The scribble was getting even more blurrier, if that is even a word. It is almost noon. I decide to take a nap, and as my mind wanders, I recall that I read somewhere that today is the dark moon. I note how they always seem to arrange stuff just right. I am out in front of the BOQ. I am in the Oniriscape. It is odd, because it is daylight during mundane hours. The Oniriscape is clear here, not like at the Naval Air Station where it was always gloomy. Here it is sort of crisp. On a military installation, the astral winds seem to blow around it due to the very nature of its purpose, missing it completely. Very few people are sleeping right now, anyway, so the dreamscape almost appears as if it was in waking time. I glide around the post and I watch the sleepers. The few fellow dreamers who are training here are in various stages of lucidity. This is due to their security clearances. In waking life, some of them do not even know they are agents yet. Uncle Merle appears out of nowhere.
I wondered when we'd have a chance, nephew.
He smiled. He was in his druid garb.
I haven't seen that get-up since I was a kid, Uncle.
I laughed. He looked down at his robes.
Oh, ha, ha, ha.
And then, just like that, he was wearing a nudie suit, like old Hank Williams.
How's that?
We both laughed, but it didn't last long. It never does. It's a dark moon. The real witches do their dirty work when the moon is overhead, even if it's daylight. The cackling grew louder as the coven came closer.
Used to be a time when the witches wouldn't even come close to an outpost,
said Uncle Merle, and his staff appeared in his right hand. The witches circled the moon, which was directly overhead. It doesn't matter that you can't see her in the daytime. In the Onirosphere, she is always full. A bolt of lightning flew from Merle's staff, and the witch falls to the ground. They always come out just before Fuzzy tries something silly with that baby Hitler DNA ritual. I like to try and score as many witches at a time as I can, so I start swirling my chakras, and the energy starts to swirl around me, and I raise my arms, and the energy flows towards the moon and explodes like an anti-aircraft shrapnel cannon. 3 witches fall to the ground. To the south, I can hear the roar of Fuzzy's spell getting louder. A couple of witches buzz towards us on their besoms.
Watch out, Trinity.
I hear my uncle yell as he lightning blasts a dragon emerging from the ground.
Shit.
The witches are trying to sleep sand us.
Holler and whip up a small wind and throw it back at them.
They will wake up nice and refresh wherever they are.
I said.
Yep.
Says Merlin.
And the best part is they won't even recall the dream.
And he blasts the dragon again. It turns into an ostrich and sticks its head in the ground.
Uncle Merle's got the best tricks.
I laugh. Meanwhile, Fuzzy is rocking out.
We gotta stop that racket.
When Uncle Merle lifts into the air, his nutty suit and the big cowboy hat glimmer in the astral light.
Right behind you, Uncle.
And we fly to the south where the noise is coming from. A witch flies out of a cloud, and I wrestle her off her besom and steal it.
Look, Uncle Merle and Harry Potter.
I laugh.
Cheater.
And he flies ahead of me. There's a large circle of kids moshing around a black cube. I know they are tripping on the mundane plane, and these are their astral counterparts. Uncle Merle pauses before me, and I wait for what he has to say.
Now remember, Trinity, these kids are victims. They do not know what they're doing. No matter what, they must come off their high naturally.
Aye, Captain.
I give him a salute, and he winks at me. The kids are moshing around the black cube Witterchins, so we start flying Jeshel to buffer their energy.
Smells like bubble gum.
Uncle Merle hollers at me. A thick, red, syrupy-like substance is being poured on the cube from somewhere else. It's a dream, weird shit happens here. As Merle and I swirl in the opposite direction of the slam dancers, their vortex begins to weaken, and many of the moshers, in a zombie-like fashion, begin hurling all sorts of bizarre shit at us. Basically, it is literally whatever they can dream up in their drug-addled stupor. Shoes, a chicken, a copy of the Bhagavad Gita, Jello, or something. Anyway.
Hey, Trinity, watch this.
And Merlin grows himself to be very large, and he reaches down and he plucks the black cube from the ground and throws it up into the air. I babble some glossolalia and assume the prayer position. The bolt of lightning from my clasped hands combines with the lightning from Merle's staff, and the cube explodes in a pink cloud of dust. I awake with a start back in my quarters. There are first responders sirens going off.